Hi everyone, welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 499 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Yesterday, the US Defense Department released details of a new $800 million military aid package to Ukraine, which includes cluster munitions, reports European Pravda. The new US military aid package also includes additional ammunition for Patriot air defense systems and HIMARS systems, artillery shells, AIM-7 air defense missiles, and Stinger anti-aircraft and Javelin anti-tank systems. Additionally, Ukraine will receive 31 howitzers, 32 Bradley infantry fighting vehicles, and 32 Stryker armored personnel carriers, as well as 27 tactical vehicles for evacuating equipment and 10 tactical vehicles to tow and haul equipment. The US is providing demining equipment, TOW missiles, precision aerial munitions, Penguin unmanned aerial systems, demolition munitions, and systems for obstacle clearing. Small arms, more than 28 million rounds for them, spare parts, and other field equipment. All this will be provided from the US Army reserves. Cluster munitions usually disperse a large number of sub-munitions, so they are considered more dangerous to the civilian population. These munitions also have a quite high percentage of failure, making them dangerous for years after the end of the conflict. In 2008, more than 120 countries adopted a treaty banning the production, use, and stockpiling of cluster munitions. The US, Russia, and Ukraine refused to join it. US President Joe Biden said that the decision to provide Ukraine with cluster munitions was difficult, but he made it because Kyiv needed the munitions for a counteroffensive. He added that the Ukrainians are running out of ammunition and the US doesn't have enough of it. Biden noted that the deliveries of cluster munitions to Ukraine will continue temporarily until the United States ramps up production of 155mm projectiles. In addition, Ukraine pledged to minimize the risk of using cluster munitions. US President Joe Biden said that the issue of Ukraine joining NATO can be considered only after the end of the war, reports Zerkalo Tizhnya. In an interview with CNN, Biden said that Ukraine is not ready for NATO membership now, in the midst of the war. There is no unanimity among the alliance members regarding the acceptance of Ukraine into NATO now. He added that while Ukraine is not in NATO, the US will provide it with the same security guarantees as Israel. According to the media, it means that partners won't engage in direct conflict to help Ukraine, but will provide military support with weapons and equipment. Earlier, the White House said that along with other allies and partners, it continues to hold discussions about security guarantees for Ukraine prior to its accession to NATO, but the content of these discussions will not be disclosed, as they are still ongoing, reports European Pravda. At the same time, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky met Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, who said that Ukraine deserves to be a member of NATO. We would really appreciate if you could rate us, ideally with 5 stars, and leave a glowing review in the apps where you are listening to this podcast: Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and others. This really helps other people to find out about the highlights from Ukraine and truth about Russia's invasion. The President of Ukraine visited Slovakia yesterday, reports Interfax Ukraine. During the visit, Slovakian President Zuzana Chaputova announced that Bratislava will shortly supply Ukraine with 16 more Zuzana self-propelled artillery units. Also, the two countries plan to jointly develop a new type of howitzer, as well as to start joint production of ammunition. The supply of howitzers is funded by Germany, Norway, and Denmark. Ukraine's Human Rights Commissioner Dmytro Lubinets informed that Ukraine brought back the bodies of Ukrainian soldiers killed in the Russian attack on the Olenivka camp where Ukrainian prisoners of war were held, reports Ukrinform. DNA analysis is underway. Most of them have been identified. Lubinets added that Ukrainian soldiers killed in Olenivka were officially registered as prisoners of war, verified by the International Committee of the Red Cross. On the morning of 29 July 2022, an explosion was reported at a Russian prison camp in occupied Olenivka, Donetsk Oblast, where Ukrainian prisoners were held. Russia claimed that the place was attacked by the Ukrainian forces with a HIMARS missile, despite the fact that Ukrainians knew that Ukrainian POWs were held there. Ukraine managed to obtain videos from inside of the camp which show that the explosion took place inside of the building. Thank you for listening to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast. We are a commercial initiative of just two people and we need your help to grow. Share information about the podcast, rate us in the app, subscribe to our Patreon. With your support, we are getting better. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.